I say to this day, and I do it based on my reaction. Obviously, this is personal. I say it's the greatest knockout of all time. First time I ever stood up, I couldn't sit down. I was standing up. I was just like, oh!
I saw you stand up. That's the first time I see
it. Was just, what?
I'm expecting him to the last 6 rounds with AJ. In my opinion, he won 4 of them. So people will argue that. He at least won 3.
I'm a little up, but will you take care of me forever and ever?
When Anthony Joshua delivered the devastating 6th-round knockout that stopped Jake Paul in a much-hyped heavyweight clash, Joe Rogan's live response captured just how massive the moment was for combat sports. Rogan, who had previously warned about Joshua's single-shot power and the risk Paul was taking, reacted without restraint as the punch landed, presenting it not merely as the end of the fight, but as a moment that could be remembered as one of the most violent and unforgettable knockouts in boxing history.
Come full steam ahead 100 miles an hour, or Jake would have moved around the ring at 100 miles an hour. There's 2 things I would have done. Tried to shut Jake down at 100 miles an hour, or I would have gone on the back foot. So Jake decided to move around the ring, and I decided.
The fight, promoted as a final reckoning, was scheduled for 8 3-minute rounds in the heavyweight division, with Joshua entering as a heavy favorite based on his elite experience and clear size edge. He stood 6'6" and weighed roughly 243 pounds, compared to Paul's 216. After a cautious opening stretch, Joshua began asserting control, dropping Paul several times in the 5th round before ending the contest with a brutal 6th round knockout at 131. A powerful right hand sent Paul crashing to the mat and prompted the referee to halt the fight.
Anthony Joshua. Paul was sturdy for the first couple of rounds, but as the fight went on, the more experienced Joshua began to take control. After continuously connecting in the 5th round, it was only a matter of time before it was over. In the 6th, Joshua went on to knock out Paul with a big right hand. Joshua improved his career record to 29-4 now. Paul loses for the 2nd time in his career to go.
Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul became one of the most discussed fights of the year, not only because of the figures involved, but also because it clearly highlighted the contrast between classic heavyweight boxing and the modern, social media-driven influencer era.
Performance by Jake, brother.
Come on, bro. He's a fucking legend for that. He had such big balls getting in the ring with that guy, dude. Josh was a monster. He stayed in it the whole time, and I'm really proud of Jake, dude. All my respect to him, bro. I mean, dude, he went 6.5 rounds with Anthony Joshua, one of the best in the world, so I got nothing but respect.
And got up like 2 times?
No, it was sick.
Talk about that. I mean, there's been other heavyweights that have felt that right hand who haven't got up.
Nagano, so many people, bro. The overhand right. Jake's got a tough chin, dude. I think he does whatever he wants after this. He just has such big balls, dude. He had to keep moving. That was the only strategy. People are gonna say he ran around the ring. They don't know. They don't understand fucking boxing.
You showed a ton of heart, right? What's next for Jake Paul? Where does he go?
Joshua, a former 2-time unified heavyweight champion, came into the fight as an overwhelming favorite. Paul, a YouTube personality who transitioned into boxing, had leveraged his platform to draw major attention to the sport, despite skepticism from traditionalists about his legitimacy. Still, very few believed he had a genuine chance against elite heavyweight power.
Some people believe in fairy tales. Whoever believed that Jake Paul was gonna win, that was an absolute fairy tale. I've got a friend in a group message that said, I just put $20 on Jake Paul to win. I was like, bro, you just wasted your money. There was never a world in which Jake Paul was going to beat Anthony Joshua. It was always a matter of how the fight would end. So I watched all the pundits talking about the fight, even Rosendo, my boxing coach. I was like, does Anthony Joshua represent boxing? Everybody from that world felt like Anthony Joshua was representing boxing. And as the fight started to go on, first off, he was representing boxing, so they wanted him to get the job done. All right, first and foremost. You can't lose to a guy that's perceived to be a YouTuber, even though today, Jake Paul is more boxer than YouTuber. I've said this time and time again. When you have resources, when you can spend $1 million a year on training camps, housing, food, coaches, this is not recreational anymore. He's a boxer. He's just not a boxer at that level. I ran into his brother in New York City, and I said to Logan, what parameters are in place, Logan? What safeguards do they have to make sure that Anthony Joshua doesn't hurt your brother? He said there are none. He goes, they're going to just straight fight. So in that regard, You gotta give credit.
Following the bout, Anthony Joshua spoke candidly about his performance, explaining that although he secured the victory with a 6th-round knockout, he didn't believe it was his strongest outing and felt he was capable of much more. He acknowledged that he needed to improve, noting difficulties in landing clean shots early and an inability to trap Jake Paul as quickly as many expected. Joshua described it as a win rather than a success and stressed that there is still significant room for growth ahead.
Better is a lot of things. 100%. In the fight game, you've seen the amazing fighters that have graced us over the last 100 years, and the expectations that we put on ourselves are immense, but I tried my best. Jake done well while it lasted, but if you remember what I said in the interview with Cameron is, fighting's not just physical, it's psychological. And when you understand the psychological warfare, I did say to you is that, Jake, what's gonna happen? I'm gonna see a time when I'm gonna take your soul and you're either gonna give up or you're gonna...
Even with a knockout victory, Joshua made sure to recognize Jake Paul's toughness and determination, explaining that although the fight ended in the 6th round, Paul showed genuine resolve by rising after knockdowns and continuing to fight against a far more seasoned former world champion. Joshua added that very few fighters would have taken on an opponent of his level, and that Paul's willingness to keep pushing through difficult moments earned his respect.
The bigger picture, you and I are boxing guys, we go to boxing all the time. The question we perhaps need to ask is, did that entertain the fans tonight? Should we be seeing that again? Is that it now? We've seen that novelty. Should a fight like that between an Olympic champion, a heavyweight world champion, against a relative novice, should that be sanctioned and licensed by a commission? It was a one-off. Jake's a one-off, but we shouldn't be seeing a lot of these events, in my view.
Never again. We should never have that gap of experience,
the mismatch,
skill set should never happen again. I mean, to your point, Jake is an anomaly, right? Like, we can let him get that off. He tried it, and he even landed a couple of shots, but you saw at first, as soon as he landed first right hand, even he saw, I can't hurt this guy. I'm not going to.
It was a pebble hitting a tank, is how I've described it.
Great description. So I think it's, in some sense, we needed to have this in order for it
to get
not
it
to
out
happen
of our
again.
system.
Right. In order for it not to happen again. And look, let's not ignore that there were other fighters on the card who were watched, who were seen from places all around the world. So it served its purpose, and kudos to Netflix for allowing it to happen.
Yeah, Baumgardner was very good. Alicia Baumgardner defending her belts. Caroline Dubois was very good. She signaled herself to the American market, as you mentioned. So at least they benefit from it as well tonight, which will continue to happen with MVP and Netflix.
And that's what Jake and Nikisa, that's their agenda, right? Of course it's Jake, but Jake has all of that in mind. Who can I showcase on this event? He did it for Amanda Serrano. She's made millions. He's starting to look, Dubois, she looked great. I want to see her again. Me personally, I became a fan of her.
What's your take? Was this bout a genuine test of ability, or simply a spectacle that never should have taken place? Share your thoughts in the comments below.